Hey guys, Bread here, and this is the first of many tutorials I'll be planning to make for Super Mario Galaxy 2 Any%. For my first video, I thought I'd start with an early galaxy and talk about Yoshi Star Galaxy. This is the first of many galaxies where we are required to go through the level using our green pal, Yoshi. This is where we utilize one of the most infamous glitches in any Mario game, the Infinite Flutter. I won't go too in depth on how the Infinite Flutter works, but if you want to watch a tutorial for yourself, I'll provide a link in the description. Essentially, by crouching after performing a flutter, you are able to perform a second flutter with a well-timed A-press. Doing this over and over again gives this trick its Infinite Flutter name. However, there's something important to keep in mind about Infinite Fluttering. While you can go as high as you want and as far as you want with Infinite Fluttering, you are unable to go as fast as you want. Essentially, there's a cap for how long you are able to Infinite Flutter while keeping momentum. 10 seconds. Once those 10 seconds are up, all of your speed goes away, no matter how little or how much you might have. This is going to play a big part in our first skip, which takes place in the first level, Saddle Up with Yoshi. The beginning is nothing too crazy, just a bunch of long jumping. I would recommend going up on these side platforms during the sequence of long jumps. Once you defeat the Magic Koopa and hop on Yoshi, this is where the fun begins. Depending on your skill level, you can approach this comet medal two different ways, but I will show off the easier method. You walk up from the egg and then quickly go into a side flip, then shake before performing your first flutter. This is key, as shaking before Infinite Fluttering gives you more distance, and as you're going to see, you'll need all the distance you can possibly get. After performing a few Infinite Flutters over to the comet medal, you might be wondering, what the heck do I do now? The objective is simply to bounce off a fruit that is hanging on the backside of this large stump, and flutter your way over to the penultimate planet of this level. To perform this, tap up right after landing and quickly press the C button to align Yoshi up with the fruit. It may take a few tries to get your position right, but ultimately it should look something like this. Then tap your control stick straight right so Yoshi is in a good position to perform this flutter. Now comes the actual Infinite Flutter. As I mentioned previously, shaking before performing Infinite Flutters gives you more distance than if you were to just jump before fluttering, which gives you more height than distance. As for what angle you want to hold during the flutter, I'm going to imagine the control stick on the nunchuck as if it were a compass rose. North is up, east is right, and so on and so forth. For this skip, you want to hold an angle roughly north. If you find that north doesn't give you the speed you need, I would recommend starting at holding an angle north-northwest, and then switch to north back at some point during the flutter. When you are in the spot you need to be in, jump, shake, and hold the angle I mentioned while you perform the flutter. The distance still seems so far away though, you may feel unsure if the skip will even work. But what if I told you that by bouncing off an object, Yoshi's Infinite Flutter timer is reset back to the start of the 10-second timer? We can utilize the fruit here on the backside of the stump to bounce off it, keep our speed, and reset the Infinite Flutter timer to give us just enough time to flutter over to the planet. Ideally, you want to perform 9 Infinite Flutters, so count to 9 in your head. By the time you start your 9th flutter, you should be entering the gravity of the planet you are Infinite Fluttering to. After performing the 9th flutter, dismount off of Yoshi while you still have the speed to do so. If you dismount off Yoshi while he is going full speed, the momentum and speed will be carried over to Mario during the dismount and he will keep that speed for 10 seconds, just like the Infinite Flutter. Overall, the skip saves a minimum of about 17 seconds over the normal route, but if you die, you lose about 45 seconds. If you were to die from this skip, you either dismounted too early or too late, or simply didn't have enough speed to enter the gravity zone correctly. That, or your angle was really off. If done correctly though, here's what the skip looks like at regular speed. If you guys want to see a more advanced version of this flutter, click the second link in the description. From there, you just do 2 triple jumps and a backflip up to where Yoshi is to go to the final planet. Once you land on the planet, walk left and quickly side flip right while holding a northwest angle on your control stick. Since there's a wall right in front of us, we don't need to shake here. As mentioned, a no-shake Infinite Flutter gives us more height than it does distance, which is what we need to perform this flutter successfully. Do 4 or 5 flutters, and then use Yoshi's tongue to grab the flower and hop on the platform before you miss your ride. The rest of the level is pretty straightforward. Once you escape the first level of the galaxy, you have to go back in and traverse through the second star, Spiny Control. This level contains a flutter that is both easier and more time-saving than the first flutter, yet it can still be fairly difficult, especially for newcomers. Essentially, our goal is to skip from the first planet over to the boss planet by just doing one sequence of infinite flutters. Make your way over to the Yoshi egg and hop on Yoshi. And here's where things get a little bit nitpicky. When you perform this flutter, you want Yoshi to be facing at an angle that is roughly north-northeast, or between north and northeast. If you simply hold northeast and try to perform the flutter, this happens. You don't get the speed you need and you're forced to try the skip again. And if you do get the right angle for Yoshi to face, you still need to have a good angle for the flutter, and you'll see why. After performing a shake, you ideally want to hold an angle that is just below southeast, roughly south-southeast. Now, the one common issue people tend to have with the skip is the fact that halfway through it, your camera angle will switch. Thankfully, since it moves around fairly slowly, you have some time to change your angle. Since we are now moving in a northward direction instead of southward, and since we are facing left instead of right, we want to switch to an upright angle. This doesn't need to be immediate, and the change doesn't need to be a rapid flick of the control stick. However, you also can't be too slow with it, as you can start to lose speed if you hold the wrong direction. If done correctly though, this is what the skip would look like at regular speed. If you were to just hold directly southeast, this happens. You land too far back on the platform and don't get to the flowers immediately, losing you some time. Once you do make it to the boss fight though, there is just one final thing you need to know. King Lakitu's first phase is straightforward. Just grab the first spiny he throws as quickly as possible and aim it at his cloud. Once he is in his second phase though, this is where things can get tricky. Ideally you want to run up fairly close to him, somewhere around here would do. You grab the first spiny he throws as quickly as possible, delay the throw a bit as you move back towards the center, fire the first spiny at King Lakitu, and then quickly grab the second spiny before the first spiny hits him. When King Lakitu is hit by a spiny, any spinies that remain on the map disappear. It is for this reason that you want to grab the second spiny as quickly as possible. If you don't get the second spiny in Yoshi's mouth, simply wait for King Lakitu to start throwing spinies and shoot the first one at him as quickly as possible. If you do get the second spiny in Yoshi's mouth, however, it is important to not shoot at King Lakitu immediately. King Lakitu will be in the middle of an animation phase as he pounds down on his big cloud like it's a drum, and because he is in an animation phase, any objects thrown at him will simply do nothing. You want to stand roughly here, in between the patch of grass with the hidden coin and the crystal. Wait for Lakitu to do his third pound with his hands, and then almost immediately after, shoot the spiny at him. By the time the spiny hits the King Lakitu cloud, he will have just finished up his animation, and thus, he is vulnerable to any spiny attacks. Before the cutscene triggers, jump in the spot you are in so you are perfectly aligned to grab the star immediately. The comet level in this galaxy doesn't come in until World 3, when you do a cleanup of World 1 to get some stars and unlock Fearsome Fleet. There's not really a lot to explain in this one, it's just all about using the Rainbow Star to kill 30 spinies as fast as you can. You can either do a jump here off of this platform once you kill the 5th spiny, or jump into the spring while still trying to maintain your speed. I personally prefer the spring method, as I am more comfortable and consistent with hitting the spiny at the very top of the wall, but whatever floats your boat. Just hold neutral while up in the air and then back to north before hitting the spiny in order to maintain your speed. Otherwise, this has been a tutorial of Yoshi Star Galaxy for Super Mario Galaxy 2 Any%. I hope you learned something in this video and you will use this information to help yourself for this game if you decide to speedrun it in the future. I plan to make a lot more tutorials like these in the future, so keep an eye out for some of them. I'll see you guys in the next video.